Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here today. Whoops. How about a mic? Thanks for joining me here today on Teslanomics Live. I'm Ben Sullins, I'm your host, and I'm going to go through a bunch of Tesla news, give you some updates about the channel, and then answer some of your questions that you submitted in advance prior to this actual posting. Now, if you are on Patreon and are a supporter of ours, you can head over to there now, and we are also live streaming there where you can ask questions, which I will cover, but unfortunately, I won't have time to cover any of the ones from the YouTube chat. So thanks for joining me yet again. And if you are watching this after the fact, know this will be a bit longer of a video, and you can kind of skip around to find the specific news articles, which are all linked in the description down below already. So first and foremost, let me turn on the camera. There we are. We have a total solar eclipse happening. You can see it down in the window down below over on that side. If you are in one of the paths of totality, lucky you. Apparently this won't happen that often. It kind of already came through here in California where I am, but I wanted to share this with you. This is coming to us courtesy of the New York Times live feed. And it's pretty cool. I'm a science geek and I love this stuff. So yeah, there you go. Before we get any further, I did want to give a shout out to Pluralsight, who is helping people like you and me get smarter every day. This is a company I used to work for, and I have 13 online courses on that are all focused on data and how to analyze data, how to become a data scientist, how to work with specific technologies, and all those kind of things. So I wanted to share this because I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys about how do I become a data scientist? How do I become a data analyst? So Pluralsight is offering you guys through this link here at teslanomics.co/Pluralsight a 10-day free trial, which will get you access to all of my courses as well as thousands of other courses. So whether or not you want to become a software engineer or a data scientist or whatever, how you want to elevate your career in the tech world, Pluralsight is a great resource for you. So go check them out at teslanomics.co/Pluralsight. Okay. So first and foremost, what I want to talk about in terms of the Tesla news of the day. Actually, before I get to that, I hope you guys watched my moral dilemma of self-driving cars video last week. That was one that I had a lot of fun putting together, and it's one of those that I think is interesting because the whole premise of it was that the self-driving aspect of cars isn't really the dilemma. It's more of the ethical problems that we've been facing for really since the beginning of time. Philosophers have argued over what is right versus wrong. And I found a really fun thing. I think one of you guys sent it to me, so thanks for doing that. From MIT that lets you choose which way, who lives and who dies in this self-driving car scenario. So go watch that video if you haven't. It was last Friday's, one of my more fun videos. Not super hard-hitting on the data, but more informative and just kind of related to Tesla. So I hope you enjoy that one. And also, if you haven't seen it already, the Model 3 cost estimator, which I put out last week, has now been used by over 100,000 people. It got picked up by NextWeb and Teslarati and all sorts of different sites out there. So if you guys are wondering what your Tesla may cost, you can go to this website here, to teslanomics.co/Model 3 cost, or if you just go to the teslanomics.co, you'll see a link there for it. Choose your region. And I have a bunch of them listed here, but if you have a specific one, let me know. Then choose your delivery quarter. So people ask me about this. They said, well, how am I supposed to know when I'm getting my car? And I actually get questions about this all the time. So let me just do a quick little detour of that and go over to Tesla.com and show you exactly how to figure that out. So if you have a reservation, you need to sign in, and then you go to Model 3. And then you go to reservation holder update and click on check your estimated delivery. Now, once you click here, I'm not signed in. Well, actually, let me just go ahead and do it. it'll tell you exactly there when they expect your car to be delivered, and they're kind of these large ranges. So this is what I was using here to figure out, okay, you find that, then you punch in your delivery quarter here, and then I use that to estimate what type of tax credit you may or may not receive. If you are wondering, I'm going to get the long range enhanced autopilot with the premium upgrade, solid black and aero wheels, which, by the way, someone asked this as well in the Q&A. You can, we believe that the aero wheels are covers that come off, and there is this kind of 5-spoke sport-looking wheel underneath. It's not quite this sport rim here, but it is a much nicer looking rim in my opinion. So I think a lot of people, after seeing that, are going to get the 18-inch aero wheels. So you click that. And then on the new page here, you're going to get asked to join the email list. You can click off of that if you don't want to, or if you're already on it. And then you'll get your actual, my estimate for you. So this takes into account any federal tax credit. And below, I have all the charts and all the detail explaining how I got to that estimate. So if you're wondering, the kind of, the tipping point here is that, or in my estimation, they will hit 201,000 cars sold by the end of 2017 in the U.S. However, they may wait on pushing that number until early next year, so that way they can maximize the credit. Elon has said that they'll do this. So yeah, there you go. Let me check. It looks like, whoops. So if you haven't seen that, go over to Teslanomics.co and check that out. Using the link at the top there. So let me pull down my mic a little bit. Thanks for the feedback. Sometimes these things get a little out of whack. Hopefully that sounds a little better for you guys. Okay, so that's how you use that. Yeah, it's there for you. I'm going to update it as we get more options like all-wheel drive, and I'm also going to add other features and things like any non-US tax credits that are totally obvious and I can add, as well as state incentives here in the US. I'm working on pulling that data together, but so more to come on this, and of course I'll share that with you here and on my email list as those updates come. So the top story of the day, the one that I put in the title, is about this guy here, Alan Cohen, with his Tesla Model S, and he's suing Tesla over atrocious customer service. So I'll just read a little bit of this to you. So a multimillionaire is set to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars suing Tesla over a tiny tear in his seat. Tech mogul Elaine Cohen was one of Tesla's first customers and forked out nearly $400,000 for 3 state-of-the-art cars, including $125,000 for a red Model S sedan. A few months after getting his newest vehicle, he says he noticed the back seat was squeaky and sounded like an old taxi. He took it to the repair center. Then the mechanics tried to solve the problem and they ripped the leather interior. Then they promised to replace the seat, but it's been 12 months and they say that they haven't fixed it yet. So there's a tiny little tear in his seat. You can see the photo there. And what it comes down to is him saying that, look, this is the only option I have is to sue. And I see this as kind of like you just have too much money and time on your hands. It drives me nuts that people's reaction is to sue over something so minor. I do think that there are better ways to solve problems, and in fact, Tesla has even came out and said that they've worked with a guy trying to get it. So they said specifically, Tesla denies this is the case, and a spokeswoman said that the company has been trying to install a new seat for months. So I don't know what's going on here, but it sounds a lot like you have an upset, spoiled brat with too much money and too much time on his hands going after Tesla over something that is trivial. And so, yeah, sorry, bud, but you are my short for the week. And on this whole notion of this is okay to do this, it really kills me that people think of that as like a valid option. So there you go. That's my short. But in better news, I'm going to move on to one of my favorite videos that I've seen in recent times. And while I still contend the video of my 2-year-old getting his mini Tesla is the cutest Tesla video you're going to watch, this comes in a close second. I have to say that because I'm a father and I just, have to. But this guy, I forget his name. yeah, there you go. Zach Carmi showed his 97-year-old grandfather his Tesla, and his grandpa is just the cutest thing in the world, and he has a great time running around in the Tesla, trying to understand its autopilot, the speed, the sound, and all that. And so go watch this. I put the link in the description. I think you guys will like it. Now, a viewer, Tim from Australia, sent in some photos of the Tesla tiny house. So if you recall, this was something that I had, I don't know, kind of dreamt up a little bit and pitched the idea to Franz at the Model 3 event. Not saying that this is the inspiration for this, but it is an odd coincidence, so we'll take it at that. And here it is. So one of you guys watching, thanks Tim for sending these in, went to the event and said that basically what it is people there they're selling the Tesla Powerwall. So they're trying to kind of push that and see exactly, what's going on with the Powerwall and the energy, which makes sense in Australia because apparently there's some energy issues, or at least that's kind of the media and what we're looking at here in the US. So you can see one of the Powerwalls. By the way, I'm supposed to be getting 2 of these for my house with the red, signature red something or other founder series, but I'm still waiting on that. So if anyone from Tesla is watching, please let me know. I would love to get that installed soon. And just a check of the referral program. I always like to do this live because sometimes I like to change things last minute. We're still waiting on secret level 2. So if you have been following for a while, you'll know that we're all out of codes for the referral level 1. We're waiting on them to unlock level 2, and then we'll have more referrals available. So I'll have more of that coming soon. Okay. So thanks for sending in the photos. Now, there was some other news recently about Tesla doing some stuff with driver profile settings. And Elon kind of went on a tweet storm here and unleashed a lot of this. So I'll just quote his tweet exactly. So Elon tweeted, "We're going to move all info and settings to the cloud, aka server, so any Tesla you drive in the world automatically adjusts to you." Now, because there was somebody asking about, hey, it'd be nice if I get in my other car to automatically do my settings, etc. But the deal is about this, what's interesting to me is that this is steps towards the autonomous Tesla network, the taxi service, or the ride-sharing service, if you will. And with that, what that means is, in theory, I could hit a button, a Tesla could show up at my house, it already knows my settings, I get in, and it adjusts everything, the stereo, the seat, the steering wheel, everything, as the mirrors, everything exactly as I like it, and boom, it's like my own car. So to me, this is interesting. I'm not surprised, since all the cars are connected, and this is a nice way to kind of back those things up. In case you buy a new car or anything else, you can just transfer it over, kind of like with your smartphone and all that. So this is interesting, and I think it's just baby steps towards the idea of full autonomy in the vehicles. So next, I have something that I'm super excited about because I just love this kind of stuff. This is from Drag Times, and if you guys like cars and stuff, you have to go watch. They raced Lamborghini Aventador SV. Sorry, Avenator. I don't know how to say it. I'm not a big Lamborghini guy. And they raced it against a P100D Model X. And yeah, it lost. So this video is pretty awesome, and you can go check it out. They have a ton of videos like this where they race different Teslas and different really high-end cars. I think their channel is fantastic for just super fun videos and stuff. But the one thing about it is that the model, the car itself was only at 73% of charge, so it didn't have enough actually to do its full capacity discharge. But the Lamborghini does catch up and beat it just seconds after, or not even seconds, hundredths of seconds after it crosses the finish line. And that's because the Lamborghini, it doesn't have peak torque right away like the Tesla does. It has peak torque after the fact. So that's when it's still accelerating and still going. So when people say, Teslas are the fastest cars, this and that, really what they're saying is like in a quarter-mile stretch or something like that, they're the fastest cars. Not really fast, which is a term that would describe the top speed. Clearly, there are lots and lots of cars that are much faster than Teslas, but very few that are quicker in a quarter-mile stretch or 0 to 60 time. So this was pretty cool. It was a pretty recent video. Definitely go check it out, or as you guys can see it here, and subscribe to their channel. I think they make really good content. So there you go. Now I want to talk a little bit about some energy stuff. And this is about Tesla and GE, not people you would imagine as traditional partners. But what they're doing is they're partnering to install rooftop solar systems in 4 states on top of Home Depot's to cut grid demand by 1/3. This is part of Home Depot's plan to get 135 megawatts of clean power. So I'll read you a little bit from the article here, and it states that General Electric's current unit and Tesla Inc. will install solar systems at 50 Home Depot stores and sell the power output to the retailer. The solar rooftops will generate enough electricity to reduce each store's demand from local utility grids by about 1/3, Atlanta-based Home Depot said in a statement Thursday. It's part of a company plan to get 135 megawatts of clean energy at its stores by 2020. Home Depot will buy the output from each of the systems under power purchase agreements in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, California, and Washington, D.C. 6 locations will also get battery storage from Tesla. Terms weren't disclosed. So I think this is great. I think that Tesla is really smart, and of course, Elon knows how to work kind of the regulatory system with a lot of his companies, and they're doing some really cool stuff here. So this is great news. I think that it's going to help move us towards that sustainable future and that sustainable form of energy, and it's also going to help Tesla prove kind of the value of a lot of these things. And as they do that, the energy side of the business, I think, is going to add a lot more value to the overall company. Whereas right now, it's pretty small. So there you go. I think this is pretty exciting. Next, I want to talk about my long for the week. And the long is the thing that I am betting on. It's the thing I like. This comes to us from Electrek, and it's about the new Autopilot 2.5 hardware suite, which has more computing power for autonomous driving. Let me pregnant pause drink as I read the rest of this. And so basically, this is from Electrek. It states that Tesla has been equipping all its vehicles produced since October 2016 with a supercomputer as part of its Autopilot 2.0 hardware to run its deep learning neural net computer vision technology, which the company believes will eventually enable fully self-driving capability through future software updates. I won't get into it here, but deep learning neural net computer vision technology, those are all big jargony type terms that I will unpack in the future with other experts I have in the industry that actually do these things. So stay tuned for that, and feel free to send me questions if you have more ideas for videos about that, because I've worked in this space for a long time, and although I'm not in that specific space, I do understand how a lot of those pieces fit together and would love to share that with you if you guys are interested. So they continue and say, while it's likely the most powerful computer in a production car today, some had doubts about it being powerful enough or have enough redundancy to truly enable level 5 autonomous driving. Tesla CEO Elon Musk even said that they could eventually upgrade the system if it can't achieve full autonomy. That was less than a year ago, and we now learn that the automaker is already shipping new Autopilot hardware suite with a more powerful version of its onboard computer. So here's why I'm long on this, because at first, so a lot of people bought the hardware 2.0 and paid the additional cost for full self-driving, even though the full self-driving isn't technically legal yet. According to Tesla and people I know there, it's ready. They've got it. It works. But illegally, they can't, run it without a driver in the car and that kind of a thing, because there's too much liability, and the laws just, frankly, haven't caught up. So they're upgrading the hardware, but what they stated, though, in their statement to Electrek was that the internal name Hardware 2.5 is an overstatement, and instead it should be called something more like Hardware 2.1. This hardware set has some added computing and wiring redundancy, which very slightly improves reliability, but it does not have an additional Pascal GPU. A GPU is kind of like a CPU, but better at processing certain types of compute workloads like the ones they need for self-driving cars. So Tesla continued to say, however, we still expect to achieve full self-driving capability with safety more than twice as good as the average human driver without making any hardware changes to hardware 2.0. If this does not turn out to be the case, which we think is highly unlikely, we will upgrade customers to the 2.5 computer at no cost. So that's the long part. So me and several other folks kind of in this Tesla space were talking about this and thinking, wow, people are going to be furious if they paid for full self-driving and they bought it, they bought the hardware 2.0, being sold something, then being told later that it wasn't going to work and that they may have to pay a fee to upgrade. So I think Tesla is saying, hey, look, you don't need to have 2.5. 2.5 is kind of a misnomer. Also, 2.0 will still have full self-driving, but if that doesn't turn out to be the case, we'll upgrade it for free. I think there's some legal precedent there, right? Because if you bought something on a promise, then they say you have to buy something more to actually get the thing you already bought. I could see how people could easily have a lawsuit or have credibility for a lawsuit there. And in fact, I know that other people have sued for this already because full self-driving isn't here, and they're suing basis on that. But I think that's gonna go nowhere. So there you have it. Lastly, in the news section, what I wanted to share with you was an article I read that was just posted a few days ago. How did Tesla win against the oil lobby? I'll read you just a little segment about this. It says, for decades, Big Oil would buy up and bury any technology that could compete with their global monopoly. They knew that the world's dependency on fossil fuels would not last forever, so they have already invested in our alternative fuels such as biodiesel, hydrogen, and natural gas. Anything, really, that could not be readily found or easily manufactured so that they would be able to transition from one monopoly onto the next. What they always feared the most was the electric car. Because when anyone could just plug in his car or his or her car into his home and in a few hours charge up for a few days, their iron grip on the global economy was over. That is why they had their paid sock puppets in the mass media badmouth and ridicule any decent electric car, including the emerging Tesla. Now, I won't give you the whole spoiler about how they actually won. It is a great read, though, and again, the link to that, as well as everything I shared with you right now, is in the description down below this video. So thank you for enjoying that segment with me. I'm going to go and check if there are any questions on Patreon. If not, I'm going to move on to the actual live stream or the questions that were submitted in advance by folks on the email list. So looks like Patreon, I hope the live stream is working still. It's a beta feature. So let's move on to the questions that were submitted in advance. And look at that eclipse. That is beautiful. Yeah. So first and foremost, I have a question here from John. What is the difference between Autopilot 2.0 and Autopilot 2.5 hardware? Well, thanks for the question, John. And as I just answered that, it's slightly more redundant on the wiring and slightly more reliable. So nothing major, and as that article points out, you won't really need 2.5 to get full self-driving, and if so, they will go ahead and reimburse you. So there you go. Connie asks, with the information to configure the Tesla Model 3 along with the current available pricing information, it's easy to get a ballpark estimate of the cost. For those of us who have reservations but do not anticipate delivery for 18 months or more, what do you expect in terms of price? So I would go check out the Model 3 cost calculator I have on the website, and there, if you punch in that delivery quarter, whatever 18 months, exactly whenever you think that'll be, it'll give you my estimate with regards to the whatever features you choose and the tax credit in the US that you may expect to receive. Now, I don't have things like taxes or docking fee or any of those little things because they do vary. And then I also don't have any state incentives, which you might get because it's just too much data right now. And I am going through and processing that. So I would use that and stay tuned to the channel here because I'll update this as we get closer and closer and a better idea of all those things. So thanks for the question. Next, we have Donnie, Connie and Donnie. As a 33116 reservation, current Tesla owner planning to purchase long ranges premium upgrade, can I postpone my projected last quarter eligibility without losing my eligibility spot? So thanks for the question, Donnie. This would be something that you need to talk with Tesla about. I do believe you'll be fine. I've heard of people that were able to do things like change where they're going to pick it up and all that kind of thing. But chances are that if you need to push it out a quarter, they'll oblige that. That's my guess. But basically, what happens is once you get invited to configure it, at that point you should be able to open a conversation with a sales rep or customer service rep or somebody about that, and I'm sure that they'll accommodate you. So yeah, there you go. Terry asks, thanks for the great program. You're welcome. With the Model 3s rolling off the line and being delivered into the hands of employees, there must exist an owner's manual in some form. Any chance it is available to the thousands of us anxious reservation holders? Terry, I can guarantee you if it were, people would have shared it immediately and it'd be all over the interwebs. I will say that I'm guessing that it is all built into the car itself, not something that is publicly available online. And even if it is, it's probably really hard to find and get to, so much so that nobody's really found it yet. But as they get delivered to non-employees, I think is when we'll start to see more and more info like that coming out. So thanks for the question, and yeah, stay tuned. Henry asks, is it true if you are in hot weather and supercharge your car, the air conditioning could be diverted to cool the batteries? I do not believe that's true, Henry. In fact, I did a little bit of research before this section, and I looked it up, and it looks like from a recent Teslarati article, Tesla was able to fit more of its 18650 lithium-ion battery cells into each of the 16 modules making up the P100D's battery pack. So he broke this down, and in there he talks about the coolant. He says, it's not magic. Tesla did improve battery cooling with the new P100D 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and Tesla did provide a redone architecture, but it's not of any mythical proportions. Hughes, the guy who wrote the blog breaking down the battery in his P100D, reveals Tesla's approach to improve the battery pack cooling was to use shorter and thinner cooling loops per battery module, thereby improving the rate of heat dissipation. Unlike most other electric car makers who do not prime the vehicle's batteries through the use of thermal management system, Tesla pumps fluid through the battery module to regulate the temperature of its battery pack in order to bring them to optimal operating temperatures. By ensuring the lithium-ion cells operate within ideal temperatures, Tesla is able to provide the best performance possible while ensuring cell longevity. So there's a great Teslarati article about that. I would just go search for that, look for the P100D battery pack teardown. But no, I do not believe that the air conditioning has anything to do with cooling the batteries, but I could be wrong. Wes asks, can an OnStar system be installed when I get my Model 3? We'll be taking some cross-country trips myself and my dog, so would like an emergency system as I will be 83 by the time I get my Tesla. Well, Wes, thanks for submitting your question and subscribing, being a viewer, all of those things. I love that you were able to submit the question here. Unfortunately, I think the answer to this is no. Your car will have the ability to make to connect to the internet via a cellular connection, but OnStar, I believe, is not available. And I could be wrong in this, but what I would most likely do is use the buttons on your steering wheel to enable voice activation to make a call. So it's very similar, but let's say you just have someone you want to call, maybe a relative or somebody like that. You can do that kind of a thing. Now, Tesla does have roadside assistance, which you can call in case you get into any kind of trouble. So that would be the equivalent thing, but it won't be OnStar exactly. So thanks for your question, Wes. Walt asks, since the Tesla computer is wired to the internet for updates, mapping, and radio, etc., is there a monthly charge for cell service like a phone? This is a great question, Walt. Currently, there isn't for Model S or X owners, but they've hinted that there might be in a couple years, and they're just not quite sure if they can, if they can make it just free forever. They said they will. This is my conversations I've had with customer service people there, so that kind of a thing. Then With the 3 though, it's a bigger question about whether or not they will, because it being the lower end, I wouldn't be surprised if they ask for, fees for all these kind of things. So that's a good question. We'll find out more, but currently S and X owners do not have to pay for the internet service there. Thanks for the question again. Mel asks, my house doesn't have any 240 volt outlets and my Model 3 will not be here until November, January timeframe, but I have a Tesla certified electrician scheduled to upgrade my electric service panel and add a 50 amp circuit to provide 40 amp current to a new NEMA 1450 outlet to be installed in my garage. Still wondering, should I buy a Tesla wall charger? It's, to me, honestly, Mel, it's more of an aesthetic thing. I would like one because I think it would look great in my garage, although my garage is totally unfinished, so maybe it wouldn't. But in terms of functionality or functionally, it won't make, my guess is it won't make that much of a difference to you. Most people are going to come home and they're going to plug in and it'll charge overnight. So, if you can charge faster overnight, it really doesn't make that much of a difference to you. So I would do it if you like the aesthetics of it. I believe you may have to change some of the wiring for it. Your Tesla certified electrician should and definitely will know that. But to me, it's more of an aesthetic thing than a functional thing. I know there is a difference functionally, but really it won't make that big of a difference to you unless for some reason you need to be able to charge up in a really rapid amount of time at your house. Most people don't. So thanks for the question. Justin asks, hi Ben, regarding the Model 3, can autopilot be added after you take possession? Or is it only an option during the original configuring, ordering of the vehicle? Well, and he has Go Cards there. Yeah, big Cardinals fan. I don't have my gear here right now. But anyways, yeah, so you should be able to add it after the fact. Typically, it costs more. We haven't seen the configurator be open to the public yet, and so we don't know that for sure. But with the S and the X, I believe you can. And the 3, as they've said, will all come with the full self-driving hardware, which means that it would make total sense for you to be able to add it after the fact. Otherwise, they completely wasted a ton of money by putting that stuff in there. So I'm going to go with yes. Guy asks, do you think Tesla will reduce the price of their new cars by a few thousand after the federal tax credit is gone in a year or two? I do not believe so. I think Teslas are premium vehicles. They're not necessarily for people that want the ostrich leather, super fancy buttons and knobs everywhere kind of look, the BlackBerry kind of people. I think that if you're one of those folks, then that'll be, the way to go is to get one of those cars. But these cars are so amazing with the technology and the simplicity that I believe they're similar to what the iPhone did to the smartphone market. So they're not going to have to discount them at all. I don't think so. So yeah, I'm going to go with no, not at all. Tom asks, I reserved 2 Model 3s when I waited in line on the first day. The only reason I ordered 2 was to resell the second one for a profit. My question is there a market for selling a second Model 3 for profit, or should I just cancel the order? Well, Tom, great question. I did a video recently on this, and I interviewed a lawyer to help explain this. So the short of it is that now Tesla may, if they find out about this, and I didn't put your last name or anything on there, and I won't. So if they did find out about that, they could cancel your order. I don't know if they would do that. And then so there's that hiccup in this scenario. The second hiccup is that you won't get the federal tax credit from the IRS, or most likely state tax credits if you sell it within, I think, a year or two. I forget what it is exactly. So you'll be missing out on that. Now that doesn't mean that you can't sell it to, say, someone in China for triple the price and you don't care about the tax credit, whatever. Until you take ownership of the vehicle, Tesla could cancel your order and do anything. After you take ownership, it should be yours to do with whatever you want. So, yeah, I guess you have that risk of, are you going to fork over the cash and buy it up front and then sell it, or what? But yeah, there are lots of tricky things there. And so it's up to you whether or not you want to go down that path. Go check out that video for more information. Just look at it was I think it was called "Can I Sell My Model 3 Reservation?" So you can go check that out. And again, what I just shared with you here, and even that video, this is just my opinion on it. Even though I do have a lawyer on there, that's not legal advice. This isn't tax advice or financial advice, whatever. Seek out a professional to find out any specific laws or things based on your location. So, but thanks for the question. That was a good one. Jim asks, can you clear up the Arrow wheel mystery? Is there or isn't there an attractive wheel underneath the cover? I've heard conflicting reports. Jim, I'm going to go with yes. I pulled some other Tesla tubers, asking them what they thought, and we all seem to agree that yes, the Arrow wheel does have a cover on it, and that beneath it is something more attractive. In my opinion, it's still pretty ugly, but yeah, it's much better. And so yeah, we shall see once it comes time to people actually get them. But there have been images of this, and it seems to be that it was confirmed recently with some photos. So yeah, I'm gonna go with yes. Ivan asks, I heard you saying that in a previous episode that you would rather get an auto loan with an institution other than Tesla and pay Tesla cash. Who do you recommend getting a loan with? What is a good interest rate? Well, so yeah, I'm in San Diego, and we have a good credit union here, San Diego County Credit Union, who I use. And that's who I'm going to go with. I already have a couple other loans with them, and they offer tremendous rates. I think the rate I got on my Model S was 1.49%. So insanely low. So, you know, what is a good interest rate? I would go with, yeah, anything below 2% is going to be an incredible interest rate. You know, depending on where you live and all that, and your credit history and the terms of your agreement, you know, all those things are very subjective. So that I would recommend them, I guess, if you're in San Diego. If not, maybe look for a credit union near you. And yeah, those are the interest rates I'm looking for. I mean, for me, if it's below 5%, I think then you're doing okay. Because you can take that same amount of money, put it in an index fund, and in theory earn more than 5% interest on it. So you're using money wisely, or using that debt wisely. On the converse side, you may, if it's above 5%, then I would just pay cash for it. And yeah, I don't know specific details about the Tesla options, but I just like to kind of separate those things. So yeah, that's kind of my view on it. And again, not financial advice. Go research, and of course, there's only every location is going to be different. And best of luck. Trevor asks, how soon do you think we'll see a Tesla with a video wing mirrors, Semi, Y, or later because of the regs? So if you're unfamiliar with what he's talking about, the Semi and was it the Model Y too? Did they release? Doesn't have mirrors on the side of it. And so the idea is that you won't need mirrors. You'll have cameras, and eventually they'll be self-driving. So, this will be what the car uses to see. And yeah, talking with Franz and the other guys at Tesla, yeah, this is because of the laws currently. I think we probably would see a model without them already, but, currently you have to have them. That's just the law. So there it is. Ed T asks, does it reduce the total number of charges a battery pack can take if every charge is up to 100% in lieu of a charge of 80% each charge from a depleted battery? Yes. Everything that I've read and the studies and stuff I've done, the research, because I have several videos on this, suggest, and in fact, when you get in the Tesla car, it even says, that you should only charge up to 80%. Otherwise, you're going to put added strain on the battery. Tesla may even limit you from doing that if you do it too often. So yes, I believe so. There might be some conflicting data out there. I don't know, but all the data and studies I've seen point to yes on the answer to that. So thanks. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining me today. One last check of Patreon. I hope it is working on Patreon. If you guys are on there, I'm not quite sure. I need to be able to put a link there. Because I'm a little bit confused how it works on there. So that's one of those where it's a new feature on Patreon. Now, if you want to support the show, want to have a tighter relationship with me and the team, go to patreon.com/Teslanomics. You totally voluntary. You can donate as little as $1 or $2 a video, and that just helps cover things like editing and licensing and all that kind of stuff, right? Whenever you hear music in the video, I have to pay for that. All the edits and things, I have an editor that does all that stuff. We have to buy images sometimes and B-roll and all kinds of stuff. So it really does cost quite a bit of money to run this thing. So and we're so nascent right now. It's only a couple of us. So every dollar you can throw our way does help. So I appreciate everybody that does support the channel already. And if you want to get more involved, yeah, I would go check that out. So that's it for today's show. I appreciate you joining me yet again. And remember, when you free the data, your mind will follow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.